right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update of Urs Kalecinski at 5 days out from his second Open Pro show, the Europa Pro in Offenbach, Germany. Now, we went over the competitor list yesterday, and what this show essentially amounts to is going to be a rematch between Quentin and Urs. And we also looked at the scorecards yesterday, and the scorecard showed that Urs won both prejudging and finals by a 3-point margin each time for a total victory of a 6-point margin. So a pretty decisive victory in favor of Urs. And looking at this physique update, obviously, I mean, he just stepped off stage. There's not really a whole lot this is going to tell us other than he's still in really good shape because he just competed. But I think when you look at the video, I saw this video on Instagram today. I believe this is actually Urs's footage of the show. So a little bit different perspective than what we got from the live stream. And I think when you look at this, you got to ask yourself, when it comes to this rematch, what is the difference between Urs's physique and Quentin's physique? What gave Urs the edge? And I think there's a one-word answer to that question, and that word is conditioning. Because when it comes to Quentin and Urs, they have one thing in common. They both have a great shape to their physique. Urs is coming from classic. He brings that classic shape with him. And I think Quentin's biggest attribute is his aesthetically pleasing physique, his V-taper, his small waist, his genetics for bodybuilding in the sense of his aesthetics. But I feel like the main key difference really was Urs's conditioning. It was just at a level that Quentin hasn't yet reached when it comes to his conditioning. Now, many people have said this is Quentin's best look ever, or one of his best, and that he continues to improve from show to show, Tampa to Texas to here. But I still think the conditioning, especially when it comes to Quentin's upper body, just wasn't enough to beat Urs. And I also would go as far to say I don't think Urs would have won this show if Urs didn't bring that level of condition. Because I think that was the key difference. Because the other thing that Quentin has over Urs is size. Now, don't get me wrong, Urs didn't look small here. He looked like he belonged on the open bodybuilding stage. But Quentin in the upper body, especially his arms, he's bigger than Urs. So Quentin has the size and shape, but he wasn't able to have the conditioning that Urs had. Even though his lower body was really shredded, Urs had that head-to-toe, striated chest, striated delts, everything from top to bottom was that insane and gnarly, granite, detailed conditioning. And Quentin just didn't quite have that in the upper body. So Urs had shape and conditioning. I would say Quentin had his two strongest points over Urs would probably be size and shape. So I think the shape kind of cancels each other out. Then you've got conditioning versus size. I think the level of Urs's conditioning was more impressive than the size difference between him and Quentin, and that's what gives Urs the edge. So I think Urs is still at a place, even though he didn't look small, he needs this level of conditioning to win the show. And one thing that Urs has proven, whether it was in classic physique or open, was that he consistently is able to bring this crazy level of condition. So I would suspect that this weekend at the Europa Pro, he's going to bring that conditioning again. And so far, we haven't seen that next level conditioning from Quentin. He was in good shape here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying he wasn't. But he's just not bringing the level that Urs was on. And I think that more than likely, Urs is going to bring that again this weekend. And with essentially the same lineup, the same top five, probably going to be the same top five here. If Urs was able to win with that package this past weekend, if he brings the conditioning again this weekend, I think he's going to win again. Because we haven't yet seen from Quentin, even though he's brought these really good, maybe the best versions of his physique at these last 3 shows, he's still not on that conditioning level that Urs is on. And I think Urs is going to do it again. And if he does, I think that Quentin really has to level up the conditioning if he wants to beat him. And so I think you have to ask yourself this weekend, what is more likely? That Urs is going to come in that crazy shape again, or that Quentin is going to bring a level of conditioning that we haven't seen from him yet. And I think the more likely thing is we're going to see Urs replicate the look and look crazy conditioned again. Now, on one hand, because this is the final qualifying opportunity, I would like to see Quentin win this show. I would like to see one last name added to that Olympia qualified competitor list, and I would like to see where a physique like Quentin's would land among the best in the world. So I think when it comes to a rematch, and this being the final show to qualify for the Olympia, I think the best result for the rematch would probably be Quentin winning to get one more name in that Olympia lineup. But I really do feel like there's a good chance that Urs is going to be able to replicate what he brought this past weekend and just out-condition everybody. But he's also got the really good shape to go with that. Because what you have a lot of times with guys that are known for crazy condition, they're typically compensating for something that they're lacking. And typically that thing that they're lacking is a good structure or an aesthetically pleasing physique. I think like John Jewett, I think, is a good example of this. John does not have the prettiest structure, but he overcompensates by coming in with this crazy condition. And I guess I shouldn't say overcompensates, but compensates with conditioning. John Jewett has some of the most insane conditioning that we've seen all year. So what makes Urs so dangerous is that he's not really compensating for, a lack in his structure or a lack in his shape. Maybe he is compensating a little bit for the lack of size, because even though he didn't look small here, there were some shots where you could see, these guys had much bigger arms than him, much bigger biceps, much bigger triceps. He was still lacking a little bit in the back. I think that was pretty noticeable to a lot of people. So he did have some areas that I think he can fix if he actually does take a full off season to specifically prep for open. I think he would have the time and kind of the space to make those improvements. So I think he is compensating with the conditioning a little bit in those areas, but I think what makes him so dangerous is that he didn't look small, so the size wasn't really an issue. Then he also has really good shape, and then also had the best conditioning on stage. He was really the triple threat. So I think looking at all these factors and considering that I think the reason Urs beat Quentin is conditioning, then after looking at the scorecards and seeing by what kind of margin Urs beat Quentin, I think Urs probably will win again this weekend unless he's A, really off when it comes to condition, or B, we see a totally new level of condition from Quentin. And I think that honestly both of those scenarios, they seem unlikely. And I think that also, I think you really do have to, you can say there's no politics or there's no this or that in bodybuilding, but I think there is. Urs is the guy from Germany. He is like their golden boy guy, the Miracle Bear. I think you've got to assume there is some type of, whether it's tangible or not, there's going to be some type of home field advantage, because that crowd is going to go insane for Urs with this show being in Germany. I feel like it gives him some type of intangible edge that he didn't have necessarily at the Italy show. So if Urs replicates that condition and he's able to come into that show, the same or better as he was this past weekend, I think he's going to win. I think he's going to have a little bit of an edge with it being in Germany. And then you got to really have the conversation, how does he do at the Olympia, winning these two back-to-back shows? And honestly, I think the conditioning and the shape can carry him far enough to win a couple of open shows that are not the Olympia. I'm not going to get on this hype bandwagon. I've already seen some comments of people saying he's probably going to be top 3 at the Olympia, or he could even win the Olympia this year. I would not go that far. I think what Urs did was extraordinarily impressive. He blew everybody's mind. I think he proved everybody wrong, including me. In the back of my mind, I didn't think that he was going to be big enough. I didn't think he had enough time to bring the type of size that he needed to be competitive and open, and he proved everybody wrong. But I think when it comes to the Olympia level, I think he might be able to do enough to get into that top 10. I think his conditioning and his shape, I think it could carry him to a top 10 placing. I think the arms and the back, those need to be addressed. And he has time. You got to take into consideration how impressive it is that he just won his pro debut, and in about a month, he's going to be competing at the Olympia because of it. So a very short turnaround time. And he's got time after this year to make these improvements and take that off season, bring up the arms, bring up the back. Now that he doesn't have a weight limit to worry about in the back of his mind, like he did for Classic Physique, he can train and prepare as if he's trying to put on size for an open show that year. So I think he will be able to make those improvements, and I think it's probably something that Classic Physique was severely limiting for him. But I think as far as this year's Olympia, I don't think I can get on the hype train of, he could be top 3, he could win the Olympia. I think the arms in the back are going to hold him back, but I do think he can be, I think the shape and condition can carry him so far. Maybe top 10, probably top, I would even say probably top 10. But I think top 3 winning this year, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. But then again, I think that's the wild card factor of Urs. I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to win his open debut either, and he did that. So I guess one thing we've learned is don't bet against him. But actually, I think I won't add any other stories to this video since I've just talked for 10 minutes about Urs. We'll just make it an Urs video. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is Urs going to win again this weekend? And what do you think about his chances at the 2025 Mr. Olympia? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.